Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Across the Optiverse. I've got a really special guest today, Prof. Charis Harley from the University of Johannesburg, who also works with us at Optimum. Today, we're really talking about a presentation that Charis did called The Myths and Misconceptions and the Untapped Power of AI. There's a lot we're going to talk about, and we're going to focus on how academia and industry can work together, specifically within the field of AI. We have been talking about this episode for a while, and I'm really excited to get into it. So without any kind of more delay in my introduction, Charis, thanks so much for joining us. I was wondering if you could just give a quick introduction to who you are.
Thanks, Dean. Thank you very much for having me. It's great to be here. So maybe just a quick overview. I studied at WITS, completed my PhD at WITS University. I was a professor of computational mathematics there for a decade, but I actually started off in industry as a quantitative analyst. I eventually, after leaving WITS, worked as a data scientist and a machine learning researcher, and then currently now I came back as a professor of 4IR at the University of Johannesburg, and obviously I also consult and work with Optimum Solutions. So that's kind of like just an overview of my experience as an academic and also within the industry context.
Amazing, yeah. I mean, so it really shows you've got that diverse background, that you've been in industry and you've been in academia, and you can really talk to the challenges and the issues that both of these kind of fields face, but also how they can work together. This all came from an idea, presentation that you did for the South African Council of Automation and Control, or otherwise SACAC, where you spoke about this need to bridge academia and industry together. Let's talk about that. What was your motivation behind connecting these two worlds together?
So I think it came actually in large because I've worked in both spheres, and I think I found that in either one, there are some misconceptions from either side regarding how the other functions, how they work, what the benefits are in terms of being in that environment. And also then, as a consequence, a lack of understanding I found in terms of how each can leverage the strengths of the other. And I think that that's the kind of thing that definitely should be taken advantage of, not just because through academia and industry combined, we're basically creating the next generation of professionals, but also because it completely influences the nature of and the quality of the kind of education we can provide, leading to that, of course. So I kind of saw that in that context, and I just thought of myself, there's opportunity, and I think there are many people like myself that have seen the benefits of establishing these kinds of collaborations and are trying to make that happen.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what it's all about. It's particularly in a field as diverse as AI, and even just software engineering in general. There's so much opportunity to work together. Yeah.
No, completely.
Your presentation was actually called The Myths, Misconceptions, and the Untapped Power. And you spoke about these misconceptions. I want to talk about those, from the academia side and the industry. What misconceptions do we have about each other, really?
So I think it's kind of, it comes part and parcel of just kind of like long-standing ideas people have around either. So I'll speak first to I suppose, what academics think about industry. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding around the impact that industry is having on the development of a variety of fields, and the way in which they actually influence. I'm going to specifically speak, obviously, within the context of artificial intelligence, which was the focus of my presentation. I think there's an idea, for instance, that industry hasn't always contributed to scientific and engineering advancements, so they don't conduct research, which isn't accurate. I think they conduct, there was a study that was done a few years ago, and I think I quoted it, about 2/3 of research comes out of industry and is being driven by industry, and especially in the field of artificial intelligence. They have found that it's very much the companies that are functioning in this space are very much a driving force behind new advancements and new ideas and new tools and methodologies that are coming out as a consequence. So I think the idea that industry is behind and that they're not engaging in research and innovation as actively in some ways as academia is completely misplaced. In the same token, I think the misconceptions that industry sometimes have about academia comes to the notion that, for instance, the material that's being taught is old and it's not entirely relevant anymore, which is not entirely accurate at all. In actual fact, I think especially in the field of artificial intelligence, there's a lot of buzzwords that come up and then people get excited and it gets hyped up and then they believe that the material is new, when in actual fact, a lot of the advancements in AI, the theory was developed quite some time ago, and the theory actually originated in other fields. Um, and as a consequence, while people may think that these ideas are new, the ideas are not. But the computational abilities we now have, the data that we now have accessible, and the tools that are in place and the technologies allow us to now implement a lot of ideas that have been around for quite some time. I know for myself, for instance, when I first worked as a quant, in hindsight, now I realize I was working as a data scientist, but at the time I was just implementing tools I'd learned under optimization as an applied mathematician. So it just goes to show the terminology might change, but the fundamental science and engineering principles are often I've often been around for quite some time. I think there's also the idea that academia doesn't care that much about intellectual property, and so they're not engaging in the innovative space in the way that industry does, and that's not entirely accurate. I've been part and parcel of many like debates around who owns IP, and it can get quite hectic. So yeah, there's definitely there's tensions on both sides, and these misconceptions we have of each other, I think, has often led to a lack of collaboration. When in actual fact, it could definitely be just part of our day-to-day existence, having a functional collaboration.
Yeah. And I mean, I've seen the benefits of the collaboration. I've been able to apply what I've learned in the industry, working on projects um, uh, in predictive maintenance, and I was able to apply that into my master's, which was focused on biomechanics. And it was taking what I'd learned in industry, adapting it to academia, which I
Exactly.
think is exactly what
Exactly.
these need and these require.
No, definitely. I think we teach our students specific ideas, methodologies, etc., but they're not necessarily just implementable in one sphere or in one realm. And part of where the power, I think, comes from bringing these two spheres together is exactly what you just described, getting young professionals to unlock the power of that knowledge that they gained in academia by realizing that it's applicable across many domains and many spheres. And industry kind of exposes them to that and forces them to take what they've learned, to take that knowledge and kind of like leverage it within different contexts and think outside the box. And that's exactly what you want.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and it leads on to the next kind of challenge or obstacle that this collaboration always starts with. I mean, you've spoken about a lot of these topics, and I mean, they are so kind of relevant, but also, the one other challenge I was also thinking about, I'm coming from an industry point of view, is that there's always, well, we've got a deadline and we've got a project to deliver, and we can just do the quick and easy, simple solution, which is not, yes, in the time it helps you deliver and it does get your project
Yeah.
completed in a tick, but it's not progressing the field forward, and it's probably
Mm.
not the best solution. It's just the one you can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually you actually kind of, I think, pointing at one of the difficulties, and one of the things that I think kind of causes these two spheres to rub up against each other is the fact that there are realities that you face as a professional in industry, deadlines, finding a solution within a specific time frame, and that sometimes means not necessarily it's not about advancing the field, but sometimes it's not even about necessarily being able to implement the base solution. It's finding an acceptable solution that's good enough within a specific time frame because of deadlines. Whereas in academia, obviously, there's more leeway. There is more scope for trying to find a better solution because the aim is knowledge advancement. And so when the two spheres come together, I think these different perspectives kind of tend to rub up against each other sometimes. So where a week's delay in industry could literally lead to losing a project. In academia, a week's delay in terms of publishing your paper is not going to mean much. So, and this, it's exactly that, those differences in terms of your key performance indices that kind of cause these two spheres to not seamlessly collaborate.
Yeah. I mean, that leads on into kind of the exciting part of these conversations is that there's always a solution to every obstacle.
Yeah.
I know in some of our previous chats, one of the things that always came up is that it all starts with a conversation and at a building of trust between two people who are committed to solving this problem. Yeah, and I think that's what this collaboration, what you're talking about, is going to kind of build from. Finding people committed, that they don't mind about the intellectual property, they don't mind about the contractual stuff and the commercial side of everything. They're focused on solving a problem, and that's where academia and industry are just so primed to work so well together.
Yes. And I agree with you. I think that a lot of the best collaborations I've seen, they've started off with individuals who were curious about an idea, who were passionate about trying to solve a problem, who wanted to advance the field and try something different, who basically got involved in a project that they were passionate about from both sides, and they drove it together, and this evolved into a bigger collaboration across academia and industry. I think it does start with that, basically a group of scientists, a group of engineers across the two spheres coming together, being passionate about something, and that then can blossom into a collaboration across a company and a university, and usually a specific even specific departments within either. That's the best way forward, because it creates that trust. You start and it breaks down those barriers that misconceptions cause between any parties, a group of individuals as well. So you basically then start realizing, oh, this is the benefit of engaging with you. You bring an area of expertise I don't have. You bring an element of understanding that I don't have personally, and that's how you then start bringing together these different skills, different contexts, and I think that's when the magic happens.
Yeah, definitely. You know, in the presentation, you spoke about various other kind of ways we can approach and kind of design this healthy collaboration. I don't know if you want to talk about any of those as well.
Yeah, sure. So I think I mean there's a lot of literature where people have actually discussed the different ways in which they think that these kinds of collaborations could be taken forward, and I think the final conclusion was there's no one size fits all structure. Like every company and university and usually departments within are going to have to find their own model that works for them, and that leverages the skills on either end and actually then meets the KPIs across both these spheres. And so some of the ideas that I've thought of and that I've seen work is dual affiliations is one of them for sure, which is kind of what I actually have, where you have somebody who's affiliated with a university and they work within the company on certain projects, and they kind of bring these two together through the work that they do that's beneficial to both. So you're literally leveraging an individual skill set within a field. So for instance, artificial intelligence, but you're leveraging them across the two entities in a way that where there's clear benefit. This has definitely worked for a group of researchers across multiple domains. Facebook is one company that's a very clear example of that, and they found this to be extremely effective because it also allows the company to then leverage the postgraduate students that an academic that is got a dual affiliation can bring into their domain, and creates that kind of research mindset, which is what you also want to create in a company that truly wants to advance the field and wants to innovate. It's also about creating a specific culture. One of the other things that I think could be extremely beneficial is setting up internship structures, but not in the traditional sense where the internships are actually housed at the company. I think after everything that happened after the COVID outbreak, we all have seen how, especially in certain fields, online engagements are extremely beneficial. For instance, for myself, I have consulted online as a mentor to a company who's basically trying to build up their interns and give them specific skill sets while working on specific projects within the company itself, developing MVPs that's relevant to them. And this has been extremely powerful. So I'm completely online while the interns are housed at the company. But at the same time, I think it can be swapped. I actually think what I found as a new discussion point is the idea of virtual internships, where in actual fact the interns are literally housed probably at the university where they could be supported while studying towards a specific degree. And what happens is that their internship structure with the company is literally where they take on board a project that is relevant to the company. The company provides resources such as data, for instance, problem specification, but the mentorship happens from the academic side. So the supervisor oversees the projects, helps the intern to develop thing that's relevant to the company, and the company then doesn't have to manage an intern physically within their space. They don't have to concern themselves as much with the mentorship, which can take many hours, especially given that academics and supervisors are designed for exactly that. That is what they are geared to do, is to provide mentorship. So I think the notion of a virtual internship structure could be extremely beneficial. Specifically within this space. I think obviously it depends on the domain, but I think in the domain of data science and AI and data analytics, it's perfectly suited for those kinds of internships that provide much more flexibility to companies, and also much less admin and concerns in terms of dealing with interns in person. So I think that's another way in which this could be taken forward. I also think that workshops where you bring together industry and academia in a short span of time, we've done this in the past actually, where industry presents a problem to a group of researchers, their students, and within a week, the idea is to develop a solution process, a workflow, a MVP, or something. The benefit to academia is very clear. It can lead to their students getting projects that are industry relevant as postgraduate work, but it can also lead to collaborations that could lead to research. From industry's perspective, you then get a fresh set of eyes, a variety of expertise from different researchers, different backgrounds, engaging on a problem that you might have gotten stuck on. And the idea is to then actually be able to take that forward. There's no IP discussion. It's literally just a group of individuals passionate about solving a problem, coming together and trying to see if they can take a project forward. So those are just three of the ideas that I present in my presentation that I think really could be beneficial moving forward for these collaborations across the two spheres.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a key word, as you said, it's with a passion to solve these problems. And I think that's where industry and academia share this common goal. There's a passion.
Yeah.
They want to solve it. It develops the industry and the way you're working further to help you. And these virtual internships, I think, are essentially, you're building a community, like a springboard for learning.
Yes.
I like what you mentioned around with an internship. They have this virtual internship, the interns, the students, they're getting mentorship from people, as you said, specifically focused to mentor and guide.
Yes.
Where the industry is getting the benefit of this
Yes.
experiential learning with real life problems and real life data. I know I always used to say, oh, but I'm working from a textbook where the data is perfectly geared for me to solve the problem.
Yes.
Industry offers that to the learner, and these virtual internships offer them the opportunity to learn, which is incredibly important, but also to see the benefits, of their work with an industry.
Completely, and it provides the company the opportunity to witness how these interns perform, and then you're ideally suited to be able to decide whether you would like to take any of them on board moving further. So it's a great environment to also basically be able to search for future employees, because you're basically setting them up with a scenario that is ideally suited to identifying the skills that as a company you are interested in harvesting. So I think, and again, for students, especially for your good students, every supervisor is so keen to get a project that they know is industry relevant, because those are the kinds of things that especially our top students are always looking for. And that's exactly what you can set up with a kind of engagement like this.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think this is a perfect ending to this episode. As you say, that you as presented this amazing vision for a collaborative community, and it's a necessity. It's not something that we should talk about in 6 months' time or a year's time. It's something we need to talk about now, and we need to build on the momentum from these ideas and from this talk you've given. I think, the final thing to close us off here is the call to action to our listeners. Charis has spoken about this. There's this virtual internship idea, among many things, that can really be a starting point for such beneficial work in industry and in academia. And if you're interested in kind of following up and having a chat, please reach out to Charis, or you can reach out to Michelle or myself through Optinum. We want to start these conversations. We want to build on them, and we want to start, having an effect and making an impact with a healthy collaboration.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
So if anybody is interested in setting up a collaboration like this, if there are students that are interested in engaging, academics that have students and are looking for companies to be linked to on either end, happy to assist. I think these are the kinds of engagements that, in terms of taking our students, in terms of their education to the next level, I think is ideal.
Yeah. As you say, it all starts with a conversation, and we want to be having those conversations.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Well, Charis, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. We've gone through a really amazing topic, and to all our listeners, you can catch us wherever you get your podcasts. We look forward to the next episode of Across the Optiverse, and as always, if you have any feedback or comments, we would love to hear back from you. Thank you so much.